Namaskar, good evening. I understand I'm the last speaker of the day, so I will try to make it short and sweet, but I'll also try to make it interesting so that there is something of use and value to all of you. So जब ये problem statement मुझे बताया गया, it's quite a difficult problem statement, but I thought what I'll do is start with something which interests all of us and build on that to be able to say how do you think about value proposition and how does it affect you in your day-to-day life as well. So if I look at India, the market that we are all operating in, right? There are some very important facts and figures in the next 7 years which will really be driving the growth of our country and the growth of our businesses. GDP अगर आप देखेंगे from almost close to $4 trillion today, it will grow to close to $7 trillion by FY30. Population and GDP per capita, obviously, the GDP per capita grows from $2,500 today to almost $4,500. Dependency ratio, a very important metric. काफ़ी लोग इसके बारे में बात नहीं करते हैं, but this is a very important factor in India's favor. Dependency ratio is the number of people in the working age population. So 18 to 60 years of age divided by those who are not in the working age, right? So less than 18 and more than 60. This number stays at 63:37 very importantly for the next 7 years. This acts as a huge productivity tailwind for the country, which not many other markets enjoy. US and China, it is a headwind. This ratio reduces for them. हमारे लिए ये constant है. Urban population and households of course will grow. Financial savings will also double. But when we compare कि when markets have gone through these kinds of changes, जहाँ पे GDP has grown by this much, what we have seen is mutual fund AUM as a percentage of GDP has also grown much more. So while GDP doubles, the mutual fund AUM can easily triple in this time period. So we are seeing the AUM can easily touch close to about 130 lakh crores by FY30. And that is the journey in front of us as we also increase our unique investors from between 4 crores to 12 crores. What has also happened is India में the foundation has been set. तपस्या का period अभी हो चुका है. Banking system में a lot of cleanup has happened. GST has been introduced. UPI, Aadhaar, bill payments, DigiLocker. Our financial infrastructure is actually one of the best in the world today. And even the new regulatory frameworks like ONDC, OCIN have allowed for a lot more innovation that can happen in the Indian markets. So there is a lot that is ready for use in the coming years. As I said, 4 to 5% mutual fund AUM as a percentage of GDP can easily happen in terms of a growth in the coming 5 years. यहाँ पे what you see is in the last 5 years what has happened, right? India grew from about 12% to about 14%. China grew from 14% to about 23%. So China today is where, or China 5 years back is where India is today, right? And this is the kind of growth that has happened. And you see in markets like Malaysia and others as well, where significant growth has taken place. And this is not just in emerging markets. This can also happen in developed markets, right? So mutual fund as a product category is the right product category not only when you have enough income, but also when your income is growing. We also believe mutual funds will increase their wallet share in financial savings. Today, mutual funds account for about 6% of savings. It is very, very small. And we are only projecting that it will grow to about 10% by FY30, which is still very, very small. But with all of that, the AUM will become close to 130 lakh crores by FY30. And this also is an assumption of around 18% growth rate. So when we had projected this, we had thought that FY24 will be around 48 lakh crores. We're all seeing that the number is already north of that. So I think the trajectory is definitely there and the chances of achieving these numbers are very high. So we are in a business where there is a lot of robust growth that is still going to happen. That is a very important message that you must all keep. So in this era, right, what are some key pillars? How will the asset management industry change, right? So Isme, what we thought we'll do is we'll share some learnings from different markets. Global learnings kya hai? What are different players in different markets doing? Product strategy. How should we be thinking about products? How should we be thinking of technology? How should we think about customer segments and the need and evolution of customer segments in the future? And finally, how should we be expanding our own distribution business? So when you think about emerging investment styles, we see three big things that are changing in the world. One, behavioral finance is getting more and more introduced into the field of investing. How we take into account biases of the crowd and how we limit our own biases as a fund management industry is a very critical part. And you see players that have introduced this, like AQR, where very clearly they look at what are the behavioral patterns in the market and how do we benefit from that. The second is quant, right? How do we use quantitative modeling to really bring a lot more benefit to our investors? So again, you'll see companies over here, from the global markets, what we've seen, and we look at hedge funds very closely. We have seen there are some hedge funds which have very clear strategies that wherever retail investors are taking a position, they will just simply take an opposite contra position. As simple as that. Retail investors will lose money, we will stand against them. That is their strategy. Right? Third is on macros. What are some interrelations between different variables across different markets? Right? When you bring all these three things together, macros, quant, and behavioral, you can actually create a superior fund house. You can create superior investment strategies. That is one of the things that we are clearly seeing, because this is a business of investments. So investment में differentiation करना है, these three become very critical for you. On product strategies. So when most people talk about products, they say active or passive, right? We look at it a little bit more differently. We say active or passive can be along two different dimensions, right? एक तो dimension है आपका philosophy, right? What is your fund strategy, right? Are you basically just choosing your investments based on an active or a passive approach? And the second is, what is your percentage allocation in your portfolio? Is that passive or is that active? So if we start from the bottom left, the passive approach of selection is basically you take the top 50 stocks. Your passive approach of allocation is market cap weightage. That is a typical Nifty 50 index fund. That typically forms a pure passive as we call it. Uske advantages aap leke, if you bring in some more, I would say, active ways of selection. So for example, if you decide that I want a Warren Buffett-like strategy, I want to pick high growth companies which are very capital efficient, highly profitable, and are available at a PE of less than X. You start creating what I call the quant funds, rule-based funds, smart beta funds. You can call them different names, but fundamentally there is an element of active in them. Pure active funds are what you will see on the right-hand side, where both selection as well as allocation is done on an active basis. And jahan pe the selection is passive, but the allocation is active. This is where you have your hybrid funds, your asset allocation funds, BAFs, those kind of products come in over here. So we think of products also in a very differentiated way, that it's not just passive or active, but passive or active along two different dimensions. On technology and analytics, a lot is changing, right? So one of my close friends is in technology, and he keeps telling me that 5 years is the generation in technology today. 5 saal pehle, if you had learned something, it is already out of date today, right? That is the cycle that we have to work with. What we are seeing is using AI and GPT, right? How marketing automation is going to change. Using blockchain, how the entire asset management industry can change. Using account aggregator, how you can use much more information about what your customers' bank account statements are revealing. And using open network for digital commerce allows you to become a supplier on e-commerce as well. These are all things that were unimaginable 5 years ago, all of them. But today they are a reality. And this reality will keep changing. So it's very important for you to keep updating and refreshing yourself as you keep going down this journey. Customer segments, we talked about the fact India has one of the youngest populations in the world, and it will stay young, and that is a big advantage for us. What we are also seeing is a lot of the evolving customer segments will start getting wealthier. So what we see is the upper middle as well as the HNI segments, typically the investing segments, will grow by at least 50% in the coming years, which is a huge growth. Very often people ask a question, ki, let's say the customers are growing, but will most of them start coming more digitally? You have a lot more millennials, lot more younger customers. Will they all come digitally? And what is the role of an advisor then? Right? So we looked at the data, and what we found is about 84 lakhs out of the 1.5 crore customers who came were digital, were millennial, but 95% of them still chose advice, right? Whether that was digital advice or physical advice. Pure direct was only 5%. And I think that's a very important metric we all must keep in mind, that people do need advice in this business. It is not a business you can simply do without your advice, and over a period of time, as your portfolio builds up, this becomes even more relevant. So what should you do in this era, right? Two basic things. One, you need to digitize. If you have to grow your business 3, 4, 5, 10 times, but not increase your cost in that same ratio, the only way you can do it is with technology. Second, you have to diversify. You have to find ways of working with all of your investors' needs. ऐसा नहीं है कि आपके investors को सिर्फ हर दिन mutual fund ही चाहिए, right? He may need an FD, he may need credit cards, a home loan. How can you actually work with all these products and deliver all of them to your investors? So the most important thing is you have to choose the right partner. The partner that helps you create these technology solutions, these digital processes, combat online threats, and grow your business, most importantly. So what I will do is I will just talk a little bit about how we have done that in the past. This animation is not working. Okay. So anyway, what I will do is I'll just tell the story of how we have done this in our group. So Bajaj Finance, many of you are aware of, right? It's one of the leading NBFCs in the country. Their biggest, many people think it is a D2C company. It is not. It is a B2B company. It works with distribution partners. 130,000 merchant outlets are its distribution partners. It starts from Reliance Digital, Chroma, and so on and so forth, Vijay Sales, but also many, many smaller stores and outlets, जहाँ पे consumer durables बिकते हैं, right? Now think about it. Think about one of these stores, right? Each of these stores has to have a large store, correct? Because you have to store TVs, fridges, microwaves, laptops, mobiles. You need a lot of space. You need to hire knowledgeable people, because those people have to sell these products. They need to understand the features. The location has to be in the center of the city, in a commercial district. So rents are high, right? This is all that is required in this business. Who do you think is their biggest competitor? Online. Think about this. Amazon with an app, or let's say any other app, can easily have all of those products digitally available, right? Now a customer can simply swipe, see all these products wherever they are sitting at home, make a purchase, product will get delivered in maybe 3 days, right? How do you combat that as a physical store? That was a problem they asked us, right? So what did we do? We basically analyzed कि e-commerce पे बिकता क्या है, right? What sells on e-commerce? Turns out one product is 70% of e-commerce sales. Mobile phone. So we did one very simple thing. We said for all of our retail partners, right? आप सबका जो mobile catalog है, वो आप हमारे website पे डाल दीजिए. हमारा website, we have a Bajaj Mall. उस पे we get about 25 million customers coming every month. 2.5 करोड़ कस्टमर्स हर महीने के महीने आते हैं, इन सब के पास ऑलरेडी EMI कार्ड है. So we know which location they are coming from, which pin code. So next time when somebody comes to that website and he is checking for a mobile phone, we only show the catalog of those stores which are in that same pin code. Customer makes a transaction using his EMI card. Fulfillment is done by the partner in that geography, in that pin code, within 3 hours. This even Amazon cannot match. This is what we look at, how we can differentiate and how we can create a completely new proposition with all our distribution partners. I will leave you with that thought. Thank you very much.